So we're going to go ahead and hop right on into this. Just a little reminder that we are Facebook Live, and we're also streaming to our KW Metro YouTube channel. So if that's something that, if you ever... Hey, how's it going? So we're going to go... Sorry, I just heard myself talking to myself. So,
we did too.
Another day in the life of Steve and Jack, right? So basically what we're dealing with here is that if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you want an additional outlet to be able to share with anyone, your friends, your family members, anytime that you catch something, you're saying, hey, why don't you check out this YouTube channel? Maybe additional value adds for some agents that are struggling out there in the market today. This is a good resource. So make sure that you subscribe to Keller Williams San Diego Metro YouTube page. Wanting to also kick off with some good vibes that we have some new family members. So wanting to give a nice hearty welcome to Jovi, who's joining our commercial team. We also have, let's see, Patrine McShane. Her license recently posted and also recently joined us. So welcome, Patrine. And we also have Tony Lynn Chaco. She's actually an ALC member as well as a top producer from the Brea office. So recently relocated down here to San Diego. So when you see these friendly faces, make sure to give them a nice hearty COVID-free high five. So let's keep the good vibes going here. Would like to open this up for any bucket fills, any gratitudes that you guys would like to share.
I have one.
Yes.
I want to thank Steve and Jack for teaching us on scripts practice every morning at 8:30. And I'm learning a lot and it keeps me accountable. And I love learning. So it's like my favorite thing. And Steven has a lot of wisdom and a lot of like direct scripts on what to say and what not to say. So I'm really enjoying that. Especially doing it from my own house. I enjoy it even more. I roll out of bed, eat a banana, drink some coffee and a couple of eggs, and I'm good to go.
You've got this, Mehdi. Well, and I want to, share the appreciation with you as well. Thank you for showing up. There's only one way that all of the leaders here in the office are wonderful coaches. We can only provide value to you if you're showing up. So Magic Mehdi, I'd like to share that gratitude with you as well. Thank you. Mark Miller, I believe that you've got a bucket fill that you'd like to share.
And I love Mark Miller's picture. That is awesome.
Hold on, bud. We're going to try to unmute you. Okay. All right. So anybody else while we're figuring that out, any other gratitudes or bucket fills that you'd like to share?
I would. Astrid would.
Howdy, go for it.
I want to say thank you to Nancy, Drew, and Ariana for helping me yesterday.
Love it. Thank you, ladies. And thank you, Astrid, for sharing your gratitude. Awesome. We got time for one more. Let's squeeze in one more piece of gratitude or bucket fill.
I'll go. I am grateful for Russ for keeping me laughing constantly with the most inappropriate memes ever.
I will always do that for you. Always. And I'm going to sneak one in for Nikki Francis, who helped me comp something that was really tricky the other day.
Very nice. Ooh, love it, love it. Well, thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Russ, for the humor, the value, and everything that you guys are providing. So moving things along, let's see. Broker Bob, give us some broker updates. I'm sure there's a couple that you can share, right?
Well, first, let's do some shout outs for the Launch and Growth Coaching Program. Thank you, Stephen.
Cool.
We want to give a huge shout out to Stephanie Peacock. She's in Launch with Clarissa and Barbara, opened an escrow. Thumbs up for that. And Marlon Genoza, he opened an escrow. He's also in Launch with Clarissa and Barbara. And then shout out to Mandy Gonzalez. She's in Growth with Alicia. She opened an escrow. And then Mustafa, brand new to our, back at our office, just took his first listing back at our office. He is in Growth with Alicia. So if you want to know how these people are doing it and you're not being coached, you might want to check out what we got going on in the coaching division. I have coaches that we can team up with you and sit down and do a 10-minute business eval and see where you are for the year and see if you want to talk about what that looks like. Okay, so first thing, as now I'm putting my broker hat on. So
your broker tank top on?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me cover a few things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen for you, because this is something that's important that you all need to be aware of with the recent change in the law on the TDS. And we discussed this a few weeks ago. The law changed where the first section of the TDS typically did not have the first 3 boxes checked. Now, when a seller is filling out, and we're going to discuss this further next week at the real risk management, but I'm going to review this now because this is really important. When a seller fills this out, typically they will check the 3rd box in section number 1, where it says no substituted disclosures for this transfer. That's a recommended because they're going to complete the TDS. If none of these boxes are checked and this is delivered to the buy side, then according to the civil code, the TDS is not complete. And the buyer has the right of rescission to rescind the contract, even if all of the contingencies had been released.
At any time, Robert?
At any time, if these 3 boxes are not checked, even after, if they're 1 day to close. So imagine as a listing agent, you're not verifying this, and then all of a sudden you discover that these boxes aren't checked, but all the contingencies are ready to go. And then some weird anomaly happens and the buyer says, we're not buying, we're going to back out. And the buyer wants to cancel. Guess what? That buyer has the right to their deposit back.
Well,
And
because rescission means that the contract just doesn't even exist anymore and they can unilaterally do that.
yes. So as a listing agent, you need to make sure now all the TCs are on notice on this and all the admins in the team. Here's the second
Robert,
thing.
can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
If contingencies have been released from the buyer side, does that moot that point?
Nope. The buyer still has the right of rescission.
And
That's why this is important, that you guys have got to check to see that that 3rd box was removed. Now, we know agents are really, really not good at filling out their avids and delivering them to the other side in a timely manner. And this is another point that the civil code has changed. The avid is a disclosure that needs to be sent back within certain timeframes per the contract. And typically what will happen on this page, the 3rd page, the agent will check this box, see the attached agent visual inspection disclosure. And guess what? There is no attached agent visual inspection disclosure because the agent has not filled it out. Now, this is not anybody just in this group. This is kind of industry-wide. If that happens and the avid is not attached and sent over, and that's missed, all contingencies are released, cleared to close, but the avid was never sent, the buyer still has a right of rescission. So imagine going to your seller and saying, oops, I forgot to send over my avid to the buy side and I screwed up, and the buyer has the right to cancel. So this is really important stuff for you guys to understand and know, that you've got to really check this TDS and make sure that you have all those boxes checked, and you've got to supply your avid within the time frames of the contract, both listing side and buy side. This is going to be a Pandora's box in California because the civil code changed this year. And what we're seeing right now is some listing agents are not sending over the 3rd part of the avid signed by them until the buyer actually sends over their avid. We're seeing that happen. So some listing agents have wised up to this, and they want to make sure that the buyer's agent on their transaction sends over their avid.
Hey, Robert,
Yes.
can I add something here?
Yes.
We have to verify this, but the right of rescission might even extend beyond close of escrow.
Okay.
So we'll look into that and let everybody know, but that is even a worst case scenario if that was to happen.
So all of our agents in our office are very good with getting their avids filled out in a timely manner. Two other things. One important thing that's happening during this wonderful COVID period is the moratorium on evictions. And it's making contracts really sticky. If you have a transaction that has a seller that's going to remain in possession after a close of escrow, that will require either an SIP, so that's 29 days or less, or residential lease after sale, that's 30 days or more. Or if you are a listing agent representing a property with tenants in possession, and the tenants have been issued a 60-day notice and they're going to be moving out before close of escrow, and they don't move out, this is going to be really sticky because you cannot proceed with the sale if you're representing the seller and the buyer, and the seller is going to remain in possession. You need to call me and Mark, because we have to walk you through the conversation you need to have with the buyer if they close escrow on that property and they are now technically a landlord in the state of California, and if they have to evict that seller because the seller is overstaying their visit, there is no way that they're going to be able to evict that seller because there's a moratorium and the courts are closed. And so there's a huge risk and liability for you as an agent if you're not protecting the buyer. On the sell side or the purchase side, if there's a tenant in there and proper notices haven't been given and there's no estoppel certificates, and this happens a lot whenever we get tenant occupied property transactions, you really need to have a clarity on what those tenants are doing, and they need to be out of that property per the contract. If it stipulates 5 days prior to close of escrow, they need to be ex-nayed and out. You cannot close on a property with a tenant that will be there after close of escrow if there's no lease in place, if the buyer has the intention of wanting to move in. So imagine if you have a buyer wanting to move into a property with a tenant on it and you don't stop the sale because the tenant hasn't moved out, and the sale closes, and now that buyer becomes landlord and they have to evict and they can't. So big red flags with tenant occupied properties after close. Finally, we all know what happened on Friday. We've been shut down again. And the statewide car call was a rather interesting call with a lot of brokers across the state. And the biggest thing that came up was about all the other issues that every other real estate industry is having across the state. Some agents are following rules, some are not following rules. Some people are doing open houses. Some people are showing up without their PED signed. People are letting buyers in the house. We had an incident over the weekend with Jay, and Jay Lee's doing everything right on a listing. And he had an overwhelming number of people show up to the property without appointments. And Jay did everything right. You've got to, and all the electronic devices where people are being recorded, sellers are seeing this. And in this instance, this is what happened with another one of our listings this week. Our listing, agent does everything right, schedules the appointment, buyers show up. One of the buyers is not wearing a mask. The agent is accompanying them, and they go into the property. But that one buyer is not wearing a mask, and she says to the agent as they're entering the property, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot my mask." And the agent, the buyer's agent on the other side, not ours, this is our listing, says, "Oh, I'm not worried about it." Sellers had a Ring device. They saw it, they heard it, they would live it. Now our agents do everything right. Why am I going into this? Because the governor's office knows that agents aren't playing by the rules. And they are going to keep stuff clamped down if agents aren't playing by the rules. They drive into the Capitol in Sacramento, they see open house signs, they see agents doing things they shouldn't be doing. And basically, this is coming from Car Legal, the lawyers that deal with the governor's office, and they say, Your agents aren't playing by the rules, so we're going to keep the rules clamped down as long as we can, because nobody as an industry is taking responsibility for what they need to do. So here's where I need your help, and we need your help. When you see agents out there doing wrong, you need to call them out. You need to at least have a conversation with them, or you need to call out and reach out to their broker. I welcome that call from other brokers if they see any of you guys doing anything wrong, because I want to know, because I want to be able to correct it. So it's incumbent upon us as agents in this industry during this pandemic that if we ever want to see some semblance where stuff gets loosened up again, where we can actually go out and lead generate, then we have to all work together as an industry to make the industry better. You see, before it was just basically on the brokers to make the industry better. Now I'm imploring you guys to help us in that fight, because this is your livelihood. And without you guys helping, and all these agents that have no idea what the F they are doing, and it's pissing me off, because as a broker, I'm concerned about everybody's livelihood on here. So please, 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 if you see it, call it out. Tell them, are you aware that what you're doing is not mandated by the state? And just have an educational opportunity with them. I'm sorry for making this so heavy, but it's very important I get this information out to you guys. And I hope that you don't think I'm not yelling at you guys. I'm more yelling at the industry, because it's our livelihood. And if we don't keep our livelihood, none of us will be in business. Okay?
Hey, Bob, are you recommending having that conversation right on the spot as it's happening?
Yep, exactly. And do it in a nice way, not accusatory. Say, are you aware of the new mandates put out by the state of California? A lot of them don't know, because they don't have brokers like me educating you guys every week, and Mark educating you guys every week. They just run willy-nilly.
Bob, I even had a thing happen last week when I was showing houses where the seller was in the home when we got there and they didn't want to leave. One wasn't wearing a mask, and the one kept taking his mask off to talk to my buyers. And I finally told my buyers, I'm like, I'll wait for you outside. It's your choice if you want to be in there.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll let you get to the most enjoyable part of the meeting, the Ashley stuff, but have a great day. Sorry.
No, don't apologize, Robert. And here's the thing, right, is that thank you, honestly, you, Mark Miller, like all of our transaction coordinators, you guys really do keep us safe. And personal opinions aside, I know that we all have varying levels of opinions as far as the state of everything, the level of severity, and that's okay. And bottom line is that in the universal compliance of this all, it's for the betterment, as you put it, of the industry, right? That's our time to really unify and just come up with a unified message to keep ourselves safe, keep our clients safe and whatnot. So thank you. Even though heavy, you're giving it to us straight. So thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Wanting to get a nice little update from Movement Mortgage, if y'all would, please.
Hey guys, I was out of town last week, so you guys haven't seen me for a little bit, but just wanted to touch base with you guys on some stuff that's going on in the market. I know everyone's been talking about rates being low and everything, and that's still the case, but we're starting to see some of that forbearance stuff kind of like take into to grasp on to what we're dealing with right now. So I just wanted to kind of like give you guys a friendly reminder. I feel like we're saying a lot of the same things over and over sometimes, but like it's so critical with like what we're talking about. With forbearances, if someone has gone into forbearance, they cannot qualify for a new loan until they've made 3 mortgage payments on that forbearance, or they can pay it all in one chunk. I have seen a few notices from some clients that have gotten, well, not my clients, but actually from other loan officers who have received their updated mortgage statements showing them owing 3 mortgage payments in one chunk. That's definitely the minority, but you know, that's going to be potentially an opportunity for you guys to be selling some properties. I don't think we're going to see a lot of foreclosures or short sales, but as long as people are being responsible, they have enough equity. But you know, kind of just reaching out to your guys' past databases and talking to them about, you know, kind of where they are and making sure that they're comfortable is a really good time to reach out to your sphere and just make sure that you're educating them on the impact of forbearance and seeing if they've put themselves in a situation that they might not be able to get out of. And then also refinancing right now, right? I mean, I just quoted rates all the way from 2.5 up to 2.875 today for my refis. I mean, it's crazy how low they are. So if you guys have any questions about that, let us know. Ed and Wes, please chime in too.
Definitely. Thanks, Amanda. I also wanted to add on, piggyback off of what Amanda is saying. You know, the Aspen Institute reported that 110 million people living in rented households, which is like 1/5 or 23 million, can be evicted by the end of September. You know, we have this moratorium on evictions that's going on right now, and we're on the precipice of seeing what's going to happen next. You know, when that gets to the end of this moratorium, and people need to figure out what they're going to be doing. So like Amanda's saying, like, it's a great time to always be keeping in touch with your database, and especially those who have investment properties, and see where things are at, you know, keeping in touch with them, because a lot of tenants are having some troubles making their rent payments. And so, you know, 31% of people that had rent due in August, they probably won't be able to make the payment, for those that are feeling that crunch. So, you know, it's always great to keep in touch with everybody. On another note, you know, VA with the Blue Water Act earlier this year, I know we talked about it a while back, you know, they took away the loan limits. So, you know, those veterans and active duty service members, we can help them, you know, purchase a home where we can lock all the way up into $1.5 million with zero down payment, as long as they have their full entitlement. So for those of you who are serving military clientele, remember that those loan limits are no longer in effect, and that they can use their VA benefit to go buy a home without having to deal with those. Ed?
I love you guys. I want to hear what Ashley has to say.
You're so good for my ego, Eddie.
Well, and then right before we get to that, we're just going to leave you in anticipation here, Eddie, and the rest of you guys, right? Because we'd love to get an update from our very own escrow company. Justin, talk to us.
Hello, boys and girls. So I have a little bit of quirky news. Don't share this with too many people, but I just heard that the county is running 6 to 9 months on reassessing value for new purchase transactions. So your buyers aren't going to get reassessed for supplemental taxes until next year. So it's a blessing and a curse, because some buyers will forget that they're going to get reassessed, and they'll come back to you and be like, what about this supplemental tax bill? What's this all about? So you're more than welcome to disclose that information to your buyers, but I just found that out through a little bird that told me. So I think that's kind of amazing. Otherwise, as far as escrow industry wise, we're still chugging along. Obviously, we're still maintaining social distancing. Both Vanessa and I are working from home, except obviously today we have some closings that we have to cut checks on. But just know that obviously our office is locked, but we still are working our butts off and working for you. So again, we do appreciate your business. And if there's anything else we can do for you, any advice, or you want us to pre-open title or net sheets, anything like that, we're always here for you. So give us a shout. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. And I know that you're keeping super busy, and just wanted to shout out a little gratitude that despite everything that you're working on, you still managed to get engaged. Congratulations.
Woo! I know.
Yeah,
oh, that poor man. Oh,
yeah. Well,
yeah, we thought, might as well. Everybody's asking us, do you have any plans? We're like, why would we plan a wedding over COVID? Like, what? No. Longest engagement ever. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, thank you for what you do for us. So please draw your attention to the screen in regards to the upcoming trainings that we have here. You'll note that there is one additional piece, which is the special added time on Thursday, July 16th, an additional session with Tony Giordano, the Focus Shift series. So note that that's an additional time. To crunch additional time, please know that if you have any coming soon properties, please post that to the inter-office page, because we got our prospecting kings and queens and everybody in between that are reaching out on your behalf. So make sure you post those to the inter-office page, as well as your buyer needs. Now let's give it on over to Ashley for our market stats.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun today. I'm gonna have a little bit of a diversion on the front end. Raise your hand like this if you were on the Zoom where we had Mo. Okay, so that day she was very, 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 very passionate. and shared with us about one of her agents who had been attacked the weekend before. And I am so proud of the people that I'm in business with and in relationship with in our market center, because many of you reached out to him and either offered financial support or emotional support. And I happened to be talking to him this week, and he's joining us right now. So Christian, are you here? I think you're going to have to unmute.
Okay, I'm
There
here.
you are.
Am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining us. And we got to talk on the phone, but it's so good to see. You've got such a beautiful face.
Wow, thank you. It's good to see you again too. I knew when I saw you from across the room at Coaching Skills Camp when I was in San Diego, I was like, I like that chick. I think I want to be friends with her.
Well, you kind of asked if you could come on. You sent me a wonderful video that one of our agents had sent you. And I think Marwan is on here. But anyway, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here. You're, in my opinion, you're an extended part of our KW San Diego Metro family. And you're welcome to join us anytime.
Thank you. My MAPS coach, Lisa Becker, is a huge fan of yours and a huge fan of everyone in your market center. She was raving about you guys today on our coaching call. So
yeah, we're kind of cool.
Yeah, Lisa seems kind of cool. I've never got to meet her in person yet, but I hope I get to meet her soon.
She's a great lady.
But yeah, so I don't know who all is on here, you know, that did hear or was on the call with Mo. But like Ashley said, I was attacked by a group of people, and some really hateful things were said to me, a lot of gay slurs. It was not a good night, to say the least. And I was hospitalized actually 3 times after it happened for concussion and a fractured rib. And you know, it was a pretty hard 2 weeks. And I mean, of course, when it happened, I knew that my market center was going to do something great for me, because I mean, God, 2 years ago when our director of first impressions got glaucoma and started going blind, my office paid off her house.
You have an incredible market center and great leadership.
With help from Mo, of course. But yeah, we did, you know, my office paid off her house when she started losing her vision from glaucoma. So I knew that my market center was going to do something kind for me, but I didn't expect it, you know, to get attention all across the country. And I got, and I am still getting, a lot of cards from San Diego from people that I've never met. And not all of these are from San Diego, and these aren't even all the ones that I've gotten, but a lot of these are from San Diego. And not only have I gotten cards, but I've gotten, like you said, that super sweet video from Marwan. And I have gotten several text messages. Lots of California area codes have been popping up on my phone. I've gotten lots of text messages from your agents and emails. And I think somebody even sent me flowers from your market center to my front door, and Facebook messages. I mean, you guys have reached out to me, and you've never met me. You have no idea who I am. And it has been a rough 2.5 weeks. And especially once I agreed to do the news interviews, and it, you know, it got a lot of publicity. You know, there's a lot of hate out there and a lot of things that, you know, were posted about me online. And even regardless of the stuff that it gets said online, it was hard regardless, you know, after being attacked, and then you have a fractured rib and you can't move and you're stuck in bed, and the pain pills they give you make you feel even more depressed. So it was a really rough 2 weeks. And one of my neighbors would bring my mail in every day. And every day I was getting cards from people that I had never met, most of them from San Diego. And they said the kindest, nicest things and just words of affirmation. And just, it really meant a lot to me. And it really lifted me up. Just getting so much love from people that I've never met after I had experienced such hate, also from people I had never met. And so I reached out to Ashley and asked if I could join your team meeting today and say thank you, because you guys have no idea the nights that I was laying alone in my bed, left to my own devices, left to my own thoughts. And reading the cards and just reading the kind things that total strangers had to say made a big impact on me. And thank you, and keep it up. I hope you guys will do this for other people when you have the chance, because it did make a big impact on me. And sorry for getting emotional, but it just
man,
really...
You are in a group of criers right now, so I can only imagine. I can see a few of them. I'm there with you.
It just meant a lot to me, and it was such a large act of kindness and from so many people. And I mean, there actually were nights where I would be laying in bed crying and, you know, thinking, oh, why did this happen to me? Why did this have to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Why is there so much hate in the world? And then I would remember, oh, I have like 2 or 3 cards on my kitchen island that I haven't opened yet. And I'd go open them, and I would just read these kind things from total strangers, and it would just put a smile on my face, and I'd go hobble back to my bed and, you know, turn on Will and Grace reruns or something. But they definitely lifted my spirits, and I just wanted to get on here and say thank you guys. It really means a lot. And I felt the love even all the way over here in Oklahoma City. I felt lots of love. So thank you guys.
Well, when we are back open, we've talked about it. We want you to come, you know, come be a part of the Market Center. Come in when we have the doors open. And it's a weird thing that happens when you get, for whatever reason, in your case, obviously not a happy reason, but you got some publicity out of it. And so us sitting on one side watching everything unfold with the news videos, we don't feel like you're a stranger. You're part of this group. You're part of this family. So,
well, I am part of a family, you know, Keller Williams family. I've been an agent for almost 8 years now. I've never been with another company, and I don't plan on being with another company. I've been treated so well by, I mean, Mo called me herself personally. Kathy Nye, the director of KW Cares, called me personally. Mo mailed me a check for $2,000 out of her personal account. Needless to say, it didn't bounce. But, you know, I'm so appreciative for our company and our company culture. And I just love you guys. You guys really lifted my spirits in a dark time, and just wanted to, you know, say thank you.
well, thank you. You're more than welcome. Like, you've got the link now, so you can join us every Wednesday. I should have warned you. We are highly inappropriate.
Oh, I love it. I know. Well, so am I. I was the chair of our, since I was on ALC last year, I had to chair a committee, and they put me the chair of the culture committee. And I was reading Mo's thing that she made that says, what is KW culture?
No swearing?
And number 28 is like no profanity in the Market Center. And I'm like, fuck that, Mo. So, but it's so interesting to hear how different, you know, our markets are. I mean, people here are still doing open houses, and it's so different to hear.
Well, you're going to hear some numbers now, and it'll probably blow your mind.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's crazy. So I'm going to share the screen, and you are more than welcome to come back any time that you want to on these.
Well, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come in person. I fell in love with San Diego when I was there last year for Coaching Skills Camp, and I definitely want to come back, and I will be making an appear's in the Market Center for sure.
All right. Love that.
Thank you for letting me come on.
Christian, if there's anything specific that you need, just let me know. Let any of our people know.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. And this is kind of a perfect segue. Discomfort is a catalyst for growth. It makes us yearn for something more. It forces us to change, stretch, and adapt. Doesn't force us to. We still have to make the choice to. But if any of you have seen some of the Zooms I've done in this last week, I decided a couple weeks ago that 2020 is going to be my best year for personal growth ever, because I am not going to waste all these ridiculously tough circumstances that have been thrown at us. And when we get faced with these kind of challenges, we have really two choices: hide from them or use them as a catalyst for change. So we're going to look at some really wacky numbers. Michael Barrow, thank you for keeping me up to date, as if I'm not looking at the numbers every day. I decided to do this a little bit different. I'm going to go through these just to cut time. I'm going to start with this slide, which is different than I usually do. I'm going to leave it up there for a minute, and I want everybody to study it. And then I'm going to ask for two people to tell me what they see in those numbers. So this slide is all the active detached, pending detached, and sold detached below $1 million and above $1 million as of today at noon. Entire San Diego County. Let's see if I can see more of you. What do you see? Somebody give me something.
Stuff over $1 million isn't moving.
Well, certainly not at the pace the other stuff is.
Yep.
Right.
That's still a pretty good absorption rate, by the way. In most markets, that's 50% absorption over $1 million. That's great.
Well, and anything under $1 million is evaporating. Like I mean, the pendings compared to actives is just crazy.
In my, I got into real estate in 1999. I have never seen a disparity of actives and pendings like that. I've never seen a month where the number of units sold exceeded the number of active, ever. So what does that tell? You all are out there selling property in really weird times with really weird numbers. What are you feeling? How is that showing up?
Well, for sure, there's multiple offers on most properties. I mean, that's happening, but there's just fewer properties in general to go out and look at.
Yeah. Greg, you're out there. I rarely call on you, but you're out there as a title rep. You're working with agents from all different companies. What are you hearing? Because we can, in our office specifically, we can get a little blind to what else is going on out there. So what are you hearing from everybody?
Yeah, I mean, the market is going at a pace that a lot of people have never seen. And I mean, we work with agents who've been in the business 10, 15, 20 years. And I think a lot of them are just scratching their heads. I know I'm scratching my head, like, how is this?
You might actually have some stuff in there. That might be why you're scratching your head.
I know, it's in my beard too. But yeah, I mean, I'm constantly talking to agents who say that they've never been busier. But I've also talked to a lot of agents that are on the other side of that too, saying like they're not pivoting their business. They're not, they're just kind of like stuck in the mud kind of.
Which takes us back to that slide, right? Discomfort, we have a choice to change. And that's what we're seeing. You've got people who are absolutely taking advantage of this, and the others that are either frozen or just waiting for something to change. Feels a little bit like June, July of 2008 to me, where people thought, well, give it a month at a turnaround, give it another month at a turnaround, we don't know. The current situation we're in with now our second shutdown, my mindset is going to, this is just going to be our life for 2 years. We might get 2 or 3 months of freedom, and then we're going to be back in our homes. So I'm going to advise, just make peace with that. We're all operating pretty doggone well. We've adjusted, we've pivoted it as an office, and it's an incredible opportunity.
One quick thing on like comparisons from San Diego to like other Southern California counties. I mean, our inventory issue is far and away the worst compared to Orange, LA, Riverside, Santa Bernardino. But also you're looking at the pending numbers, and that percentage is also the tightest. So as a county, we're outperforming SoCal like leaps and bounds.
So the one thing to be aware of, and I almost said fearful, but aware of, is if you look at those numbers on what's active in both categories, it's obvious we could absolutely sell ourselves out of inventory by the end of summer, right? So I'm going to go to condos now. So that's attached, and I chose 500 as the break point. It's kind of the same story. Now, over $500,000, there's a lot more opportunity currently. But anything under $500,000, look at that. We got less than 1 month, significantly less than 1 month of inventory in both houses and condos, if you take out the luxury stuff. So, Stephen, I'm going to ask, and I'm sure you've been doing this in scripts. I'm not the script writer, Stephen is, but this is kind of what every conversation I would have right now is, and focused on those two places where we are so inventory short, we need something to sell.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as the magic pill, what we've been really doing is targeting specifically the expireds, canceled, and the FSBOs, and literally just asking the blunt question and saying, look, I've got buyers that are looking at properties like yours. What do they need to offer for you to reconsider selling? Or if it's an absentee owner, what do they need to offer for you to consider a 1031 exchange or cashing out? Just asking that direct point blank, they're going to come up with whatever rebuttal they're going to come up with. But the lowest hanging fruit are the canceled, FSBOs, and expireds. Those are people that have already raised their hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, using that script, going after them.
And I'm curious, I can't see everybody, but if you've had a listing in the last 30 days that had over 10 offers, will you chime in? Jay?
Yes. Yeah, it's oh, I did. Fix my, there we go. Sorry for the child background. Yeah, so every single one of the listings that I've marked few weeks has gone on a Friday and been in contract Sunday. Multiple offers and from $30,000 to $60,000.
So for me, that's exciting because you've got lead generation fodder right there to literally be able to call and say, hey, we just had one house, we had 10 offers on it. Now I've got 9 families who wanted that house who are going to buy something in the next month. Who do you know?
It's worked good. We're actually circle prospecting every single one of our listings right now. And that's what we're using to talk to people. And we're getting a lot of C class for listing of out of state owners. And it's building the business for the future. That pipeline is coming.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the typical slides you guys are used to. On this one in the top right corner, look at the total listed number for 2020 and the total sold number. Both are down significantly over last year. And yet we really felt that contraction in terms of the sales in only March and April. Since then, and you'll see this visually, since then we've been zooming up. So typically May is the biggest closing month of the year in San Diego. I'm sorry, biggest pending month of the year. And June is the biggest closing month. It's pretty consistent for as far back as 20 years. This year, it was the exact opposite. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is all those sales that we should have had in June, had we not had COVID, they haven't just disappeared. They're just going to show up in July and August because people took literally a pause and then roared back. There's something odd on my screen. All right, so you can look at each of the price points and see where the biggest impact is. We've listed less property in kind of where our sweet spot is, 400,000 to 700,000. That's really where the contraction of inventory has been felt the most. And of course, that's where we have the majority of buyers. So it's kind of a double whammy. Next, just a different visual representation, pretty much just for Russ. Do you guys all have a red line coming down the slide? That is not there on the PowerPoint. I don't know why it's there now, but it's all good. So the solds, take a minute and look at that. This actually really surprised me. Where we've seen the disappearing sales is primarily between $300,000 and $500,000. Everything else has remained pretty doggone consistent over the last 2 years. Now, if you compare this slide to the previous slide, you can make a logical connection that the reason those sales have disappeared, $300,000 to $600,000, because we don't have the listings. That new inventory hasn't come to market for us to be able to sell, which is why we could sell ourselves out of inventory. 3-year trend by sold price is same thing. See the same consistency. The biggest part of the market that's rescinded is in that sweet spot. So if I were lead generating these days, I would pick a neighborhood that's somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 and circle call until I got a listing. So this is a different slide than usual, and this was a jaw dropper for me. Now this goes back to 2010, is that right? I can't see that. Yep, June 2010. So at the end of June, these are the numbers. Blue line is detached, red line is attached. And you can see the inventory number. Look where our single family or our detached number is in June of 2020. Have we ever gotten that low? Anywhere close to it? Condos, yeah, we haven't seen it as much there. I'm not quite sure why, but that number on houses, holy heck. And that's all of San Diego County, 3.4 million people. So when I get questions from our agents that say, "What my client said next year, the economy is going to dump and so is real estate," I would just show them that number and say, well, you tell me where we're going to fabricate another 7,000 listings, and then I'll believe you that it's going to tank. We are, from an inventory standpoint, insulated from prices rolling backwards. Okay, sold 2019 versus 2020 through end of June, obviously. Again, look how consistent anything over 600,000 is in terms of sold units and how far back we've rolled with let's call it affordable, more affordable housing. Listed. This is where it shows up that we can see the reason we're not selling the units is because they're not there to sell. Okay, listed compared to sold through June. This is incredibly interesting. The next slide is the same comparison, but for last year. And what I want you to note, I actually wrote it down. Except for over 1.5 million, every other price point is up at least 10 points in absorption. 500 to 600,000 is actually up almost 13% over last year. And remember what I said, June is usually the best closing month. Well, we made up for what we lost in March and April. So this was last year. Now, if you look at these closely, when you get the PowerPoint, you'll see that, again, the listing numbers are so much higher last year than this year in those price points. All right. New listings. Kind of a jaw dropper again. So far off what our normal Junes are. Active. Honest to God, guys, don't even know what to say when I see that. It's inexplicable to me. All I know is it's the most glaring evidence in the world that you want to be focused on listings. And by the way, even if you're a brand new agent, you have no idea, Russ, or was it Russ who said he had Nikki's help with the CMA?
Yep, that was me.
It doesn't matter if you know how to price property, just go list it. Now, pending. Look at that. Now, I can look at that and go, all right, is that going to be a really good roller coaster hill on the other side? I don't think so. I think we're going to tick up again in July. And then I'm a little afraid for August, because where are the houses we're going to sell?
What we got else go on this afternoon besides?
Sorry, nothing.
Okay. Well,
Rob, you talking to us?
I'm just trying to.
Sorry.
All right, there you go. Sold, same trajectory. A lot of people debated at the beginning of the coronavirus, would we have a U correction or a V correction? Well, it's pretty much the biggest V I've ever seen. Okay. Oh, and incidentally, let me go back and see if I can go back. We're on par with the same sold number as pretty close to last year in the month of June. Okay. Median sales price should be no surprise. What do you think's happening with the average, since that's the next slide? Our median and our average will continue to tick up. Tick up. Okay. Market time, 13 days for condos, 11 for houses. This is a little surprising to me, just because the ease of seeing things is not easy. So I'm impressed with what our industry is doing in terms of still moving property quickly, even though we have to restrict how it's being shown. Now, I also put in there last June's numbers at 16 and 13 days. Not a huge difference in terms of number of days, but it is a big percentage difference. And if you were in the market last year, you were already feeling like it was crazy. Well, even more so. And we ticked down on months of supply for attached, and our months of supply for houses has remained pretty consistent, 1.6, 1.7 months. Now, remember, when SDAR gives us that stat, it is sold versus listed. If we look at pended versus listed, we have far less than 1.5 months of inventory. We have less than a month of inventory. We are holding steady at 98.6% in both condos and detached for sales price to list price, original list price. I do think, and I said this last month, that's going to go over 100% by end of August. All right, this cracked me up. So every month I share these with you. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good. This month they got really lazy, because the monthly indicators and the housing supply overview are pretty much the exact same article. They just moved the paragraphs around. And yet, kind of interesting. In that first box, it says reflecting pent up demand. That's why showings were up. It's why pendings were up so much in June. And we only had 45 days of pent up demand. So I think we're really insulated from any price reduction. And of course, they point out the obvious: buyer activity continues to be robust. Seller activity continues to be a bit softer. It's not a bit softer. It's very soft. All right, so the next one. Market-wide, just this last paragraph, market-wide inventory levels were down 44.6%. That's a good talking point. If you're calling your entire database and asking who wants to sell, I know it sounds like a Michael. I sound like a broken record, but there's never been a better time to sell. And that is not a pitch. That is absolutely true. Okay. I'm going to leave it on that slide. And if I could follow the V that's in June, that would be even more extreme. So questions, comments, input. No surprises, right?
I got a question for you, Ashley.
Yep.
So do you think with the huge drop, what was it, 44% drop in inventory, right? There's still going to be an enormous demand in San Diego, no matter what the supply is. But once the supply comes back, and there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to calm down, I feel like. You don't think
so.
You don't think that supply is going to push those prices down? If you just take
I
that
don't, and here,
and teeter it down?
it's all anecdotal, and I don't, like Medi has an actual crystal ball. I don't have one. But I do know, and in talking to our agents, and this is kind of pervasive all of Southern California. I coach a team that had 2 listings, and between the 2 listings in 1 week, they got 67 offers. That's not unusual anymore. That's kind of, I mean, if you've priced competitively, if you're using strategic pricing and pricing 5% under wherever the market is, you're going to get at least 10 offers. So that tells me we could probably have 10 times the inventory, because those 9 buyers who didn't get it got to go somewhere. I don't think we're going to see that many sellers all of a sudden just come out of the woodwork. Now, as Amanda was talking about, are we going to have more? We're not going to have foreclosures and short sales, in my opinion, because there's so much equity in these properties, but they will be distressed. You're going to have sellers who can't make their payments, but they still have equity. I think that's probably our next target population.
I think if you see those short sales and foreclosures, it's going to be rental properties. With all the people that are going on the forbearance bandwagon and saying that I can't afford to make my payments, look at all these landlords. I mean, that almost happened to me. 4 months in a row, I wasn't getting money.
But again, do you have equity?
Yeah. I mean,
so it's not going to be a foreclosure or short sale necessarily.
Yeah, it's going to
be. You're going to need to cash out.
It's going to be a kick in the pants. But it's going to.
Michael, you are absolutely right. That's what I, honest to God, think we are very, very safe in residential real estate. Very safe. People who are holding commercial real estate are going to be in a world of hurt unless the banks really say, okay, we're going to chop down these loans, which they could. I don't know. They're not going to want an office building back. But that's going to be a bloodbath.
So Ashley, a
Which,
question
by the way,
on commercial.
means there's a lot of opportunity there.
Question on commercial and residential. How is it that the two are related? So commercial crashes. Is there a necessary corresponding crash in residential, or is it somewhat insular, completely different?
They're completely different animals. The way they even do appraisals on commercial property is completely different than they do on residential. It's all based on rental income, not on the actual property itself. So, and when I say commercial, I don't mean multifamily. That's going to be fine. But office, industrial, warehouse space, a lot of that I think is going to get crushed. This is just where my brain goes at 2 a.m. I think there's going to be an opportunity for somebody who's really creative and who wants to work hard to get into commercial, to get properties rezoned. And work with maybe some of the office buildings that probably aren't ever going to be highest and best use as office building anymore, and maybe now becomes condos. We need the housing units, and something's going to happen with those commercial. I mean, even some of the strip malls, they're never going to come back in the same way. They were already feeling pressure. Good job, Nikki. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I started to ask the question in chat. Do you think now that we're in another lockdown, do you think we're going to see some pause like we did in the initial lockdown as far as purchase and sale activity, with more people going to the sideline for a little while?
I personally don't think so. Maybe seller. I think we're still going to see the constriction on sellers come into market. I don't think that's going to change, but there's a big difference now than there was in March. In March, and I know we're on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm just going to say it because it's what I experienced. It was oh shit, what are we going through? What does this mean? Well, that's not the case this time. We've been through it. We know what it means. We know how to operate from home. We know how to be as safe as we can. For our industry, I think we're pretty good. Where I have fear is the businesses that were already struggling. Now they got to open a little bit again, and now they have to go back and we're going to see a lot more pressure on small businesses. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the government said, well, here's another bailout package.
Well, that's the question. I mean, without another paycheck protection program and without the continuation of the extra $600 unemployment, those rental not payments or whatever non-payments are
That's what
going.
Wes was saying. 31% of people likely not.
Right. And that was before we shut down again. So that's kind of the question of what do you think is happening? I haven't seen anybody pull away like we did the first time, but I'm just curious what you've got a bigger look at the market.
Yeah, I think it'll be less shocking to the system. And I thought it might be 6 to 8 months out that we start feeling the pressure on the unemployment side. It may be sooner than that because we are shut down again and non-essential people aren't working. There's an election coming up. So every politician in the country has their incentive, re-election, right, to make sure people are still okay by November 3rd. So in my opinion, they will pump the fake money in to keep constituents happy. After November 3rd, God knows what's going to happen as far as additional government surplus money, but they're going to want to keep everything as calm as possible until then. And by the way, Michael Barrow's birthday is November 3rd. Other questions, comments? No?
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you think will happen to demand throughout the fall? Will still have high demand?
I think so, because again, how many people have been trying to get into a house? There'll be some buyer exhaustion, right? People who have lost 4 or 5 properties through multiple offers, but there's such high demand right now compared to our supply. I think it will continue. I say that because I've been shocked that it came back as fast as it did. We had a blip. People stayed home or stayed out of the housing market for about 45 days. That was it. And they came roaring back.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, on my good days, and there's a lot of them right now, I think this is one of the most exciting times that we could possibly live through. The playing field's been leveled for almost everybody, right? I mean, the people who had a large advantage, as soon as the foundation of the country kind of shifts, they're leveled down to where the rest of us are. So if you are willing to work hard, stay positive, this really can be your best year. It really, really can be. Okay. Any other final thoughts? We are 3 minutes over. All right. Well, thank you again, Christian, for coming on today. Just such a sweet, sweet man. And I hate what happened to you, and yet love the fact that you can feel the outpouring of love and support because of that. So you all have a fantastic week. As always, if you need anything, if there's any way any of us on the leadership team and staff team can help, just reach out.